Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Gretchen and today I am coming to you to react to the International Booker Prize Longlist for 2024. Now it is super early where I am. As a matter of fact, I literally just rolled out of bed and I turned my camera on, and I do apologize for my state. I probably still have pillow and blanket creases all over my face, but I don't care. I want to find out what this long list is, and I've been patiently waiting. I just wish it wasn't so early. I haven't even had my coffee yet, so I cannot promise anything about being coherent or at all intelligent this morning until I've had that coffee. I also I apologize for any of the mispronunciations that I'm likely going to make with the names of some of these authors and potentially translators. I will, of course, do a more in-depth reaction a little later once I can do some research on the books and learn a little bit more about them. So I do apologize ahead of time. Not only are these names sometimes difficult to pronounce, I'm also super tired and haven't had that coffee yet, so I have two excuses. The other thing that I'm really interested in is to see if there's a specific type of theme with the prize. I know that over the last few years there have been pretty distinct overarching themes with a lot of the books that have been selected. I think last year it was motherhood, so I'm curious to see if that continues or if there's other pressing topics or similarities that are going on between the books. I also love that the International Booker and the Booker, they don't tend to shy away from political issues and books like that. So I'm curious to see if we'll have any representation from areas that are still, you know, in the forefront of world news. If, for example, I know that last year we had a Ukrainian author. You know, the war is still going on, and we also, of course, have the conflict in Palestine right now. So I'm curious to see if we have any representation from that area as well. So once obviously I'm probably not going to know most of that information until after I do a little research once the long list is announced. But I am also wondering how many of my predictions that I'm going to get right. So for my Women's Prize reaction, I only ended up getting 2. So, and that's out of 16 books. So for there being 13 in the Booker, if I were to get 2, I would be super happy. The Bookers are so tough to predict, so if I could get 2, I would be super happy and okay with that. And then even if I don't get any, I know that just means there's 13 new books that either weren't on my radar or books that I really wasn't thinking about that I'm now going to have to read. So that's exciting in itself. So let me refresh. I've been refreshing and refreshing to see if they have posted it yet. And oh, there we go. All right, guys, here we go. Let's see what is on the long list for this year. Ooh, we're doing like a slow transition. Oh, Not a River by Selva Almeda. So this is definitely one that is on my list. This was translated by Annie McDermott, Charco Press. Love it. Ooh, I don't know this one. Simpatia by Rodrigo, Blanco, Calderon, translated by Noel, Hernadez, Gonzalez, and Hahn. Not, oh, Kairos. Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck, translated by Michael Hoffman. That is one of my predictions. So I got one. The Details, by Iya Genberg, translated by Kira Josephine. No, I've never heard of that, but I love the cover. Another one I don't know. White Nights by Urszula Honek, translated by Kate Webster. Ooh. Mater 2-10, Hwang, Sok-yong, translated by Sora Kim Russell and Jeongyi Josephine Bae. I've never heard of that one either. A Dictator Calls, translated, or Ismail Kader, translated by John Hodgson. Another one I've never heard of. The Silver Bone. Oh, The Silver Bone by Andrey Kurkov. He is Ukrainian. He was nominated last year. What I'd Rather Not Think About by Jente Posthuma, translated by Sarah Timmer Harvey. Never heard of it. Lost on Me by Veronica Ramo, translated by Leah Genexco. Never heard of it. Oh, okay, I've heard of this one. So The House on Via Gemito, by Domenico Starnone, translated by Ona Stransky. Oh, Crooked Plow. That's two of my predictions. Crooked Plow by Itamar Vieira Jr., translated by Johnny Lorenz. Ooh, another one I don't know. Undiscovered by Gabriela Wiener, translated by Julia Sanches. No. Okay. Oh my goodness. That's all 13. Oh my gosh, that's all 13. And I don't know barely any of them. All right. Okay, so first things first, I got 2 of my predictions. So that makes me happy. And then I only think of the other ones. I only think that there were 2 other ones that I'm familiar with. Not a River and The House on Via Gemito. Wow. I don't know anything about the other books, but what is jumping out at me right away is I think we have, let's see, so Crooked Plow and Not a River for sure seem to be Latin American. Simpatia, which I know nothing about, that also sounds Latin American. And my guess is Lost on Me might also be Latin American. So maybe that's the area of the world that's being highlighted. I'll have to look into some of the other ones, but maybe this is the year for Latin American writers. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. There are so many of these books that I have never heard of. I have copies of The House on Via Gemito, Crooked Plow, Kairos. So there are definitely going to be some books I have to get my hands on somehow. This is also a really tough prize because my local library does not really get a lot of translated fiction. So it's really tough for me to get my hands on physical copies, but I am hoping to maybe get some. Maybe some of these have NetGalleys, maybe some of them are on Libby or Hoopla. I'm not sure how many of them would maybe even be on Everand. So I need to I need to dig into this list. I'm so excited to find out what these books are about. I didn't have time. They went very quickly, so I didn't have time to read the little blurbs that they gave about all of them to see if there's like an overarching theme, but I did notice the word grief in a couple of them, so maybe that's another maybe that's the kind of the showcase theme, but I'll have to get into these a little more to find out. So yeah, oh, that was exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. I am going to get my day started, and then once I get back from work tonight, I will do a little bit more research into them, and then I will be back with some additional thoughts. So until then, I will talk to you later. All right, guys, I'm back. It's been about 16 hours. I am ready to wind down from my very busy day. I promised you I'd come back and give you any other thoughts that came up throughout the day related to the long list. I also promised that I would come back when I was a little more awake and coherent and could speak better. I'm sorry, but I'm probably actually worse off now than I was this morning because I'm just so tired. I did have a couple other thoughts about the long list throughout the day, and there was one actually that very quickly after I ended my video that I immediately thought of, and that is how we don't have a single Fitzcarraldo edition. I think pretty much every booktuber that I saw put a predictions video out mentioned at least one Fitzcarraldo edition because they are truly the darling of the Booker prizes. When I think of Booker, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is Fitzcarraldo because they are a powerhouse when it comes to getting their works on the long list of both the Booker and the International because they do both translated and non-translated fiction. And I'm really curious to see what happens with the regular Booker, if we will get a Fitzcarraldo there or not. Now, the other thing that struck me, and I did mention this briefly, was whether or not I was correct about the Latin American representation. And after I had a chance to look into it, yes, indeed, Latin America is the part of the world where we saw the most representation in the long list, which is super exciting. I love fiction out of that area. I have been reading more and more of it over the last few years, and I just think they're doing such wonderful things. Those Latin American authors, man, they have something to say, and none of them are afraid to say it, and they do not hold back in their delivery. They are, for the most part, they're sharp, they're blunt, they're brutal, and like I said, they don't care. They have something on their minds, and they just want to get it out into the world, and come what may, let the critics just tear them down, let anybody step up to them, and they are going to fight for their books. And I just love that type of writing. I hate when you read a book by an author and you see them tap dance around what it is they really want to say. That is, as a reader, that is so frustrating. You are an author and you have a voice, and you can say whatever it is that you want in your books. That is your art, and you should be able to express yourself. And when you have authors that are clearly talented but are afraid to step on anybody's toes or to jump over that line, or not even jump, but maybe even to put a toe over the line, that is really frustrating. And I just love how the Latin American writers that I've read over the last few years have just been gutsy, and I love to read books from authors that have that mentality. And I was really excited to see that we had some books from Latin American also that they were the majority, which is fantastic. So the last book that I will call out is The Silver Bone, and this one is interesting to me for two specific reasons. First of all, this author was longlisted last year as well for Jimi Hendrix Live in Lviv, and he's longlisted again this year. His name's Andrey Kurkov, by the way, and that is for The Silver Bone. And what strikes me immediately about this, and I noticed it when I went to order it, is that it says it is a part of the Kiev Mysteries series. So that intrigues me but also terrifies me, because does that mean that this is potentially one in a series of many and not necessarily the first one in the series? Or are these maybe interconnected or standalone mysteries that can be read out of order? I certainly hope that in order to read this book and understand it and appreciate it, that I'm not going to have to read other books to catch me up. I certainly hope that the Booker Prize would not do that to me, but they have burned me in the past, and it always puts a bad taste in my mouth immediately, and I shouldn't blame the book. It's not the book's fault that happens, but it is quite disappointing when you have a list of 13 books that you want to get to, and then you realize in order to even understand or appreciate one of those 13, you have to read 3 other books to get to that point. And I know that most of the time you could probably read it on its own, but are you going to get as much out of it as you would having read everything and already being familiar with the characters? So that's kind of the last thing that is on my mind about the long list for the moment. I'm sure that more things will come up as I start to dig into the books. I am going to be doing individual reviews for all of them, and I will post them as I get through them. I'm not gonna do a dump of them. I want to kind of just put them out there in real time as I'm done with them, keeping in mind that I'm also reading the long list for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction and the Women's Prize for Fiction, and the Republic of Consciousness shortlist, which I'm almost done with, by the way. So there are going to be a lot of individual book reviews coming up. They're not going to be in any particular order. You might get a Women's Prize for Nonfiction review one day and then an International Booker the next. But by the time we get to the winner announced for each of those prizes, I will have read at least the short list for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction and the Republic of Consciousness, and then the entirety of the Women's Prize and the International Booker. So lots of reading to do. I have a few of the books under my belt already, and I just need to get those videos filmed and edited, and you should start to see those coming out very soon. And I think that that's it. It's been a long day, and I appreciate you so much for bearing with me and sitting here through all my rambling and craziness as I'm tired. I know I kind of bookended my video on the 2 worst possible times of day for me, but I do appreciate you guys sticking around, and until we read again, bye!